Hello, Attactioneers. Welcome to the Attack Action Podcast, America's Flesh and Blood premiere podcast, longest podcast about flesh and blood currently in existence. I'm your host, Taylor Morrow.
And I'm your host, Blake Meier.
Oh my God. That's right. So, Blake, you don't know, but you are fabled in the Attack Action Podcast lore for never listening to podcasts, but being mentioned several times on the cast. And now, beautiful audience members, this is the great lengths we've gone to get Blake to listen to the fucking podcast, is just get him on the podcast. So welcome. Thank you.
I'm actually rarer than a fable. If fables are one every 40 boxes, I think you guys are a little bit higher than 40 of your podcasts.
That's correct. This would be episode maybe 78, 79.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So I'm a cold foil master cog type thing going on.
Yeah, your cold foil flavor. Flable. You're a flable. How do you feel about that?
Flavor makes sense for me. Yeah.
So Blake, what's going on in your life? Blake, what do you even do for a job other than
my
cast
God,
AGE stuff?
I'd hope you didn't say any of this stuff because it's in turmoil these days, but I work in reality television casting, and not casting as in commentator for card game, casting as
That would be funny, though.
I find the weirdos that you put on reality shows.
John is bombing his interview right now. Let's see if he can pull it back with his fifth take of, what are you saying?
I mean, we do maybe say some of that mano y mano, but we would never tell John. But crazy enough, today is one of the premieres for a show that I've worked on, which is the Squid Game reality show. So I worked on that for 5 months back in 2022. And it's premiering on Thanksgiving, technically, or today or whatever, 5 episodes. So go watch that. Maybe I'll work on next season if that happens. But currently, this is the worst year to work in reality TV because there was inadvertent and indirect effects from the strikes where people were like, we don't really want to spend money on new shows. We'll make shows that have 20 seasons already. And though I usually work on newer shows. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's because you're bad at your job or if that's because I work for companies that do more experimental stuff. Who knows?
Who knows? Okay.
Right. I guess I would know, but I'm leaving it up to chance. If you ask me what I'm really doing these days,
yeah, that's what I want to know.
I stayed up till 4 a.m. last night playing the new Golden Kasai hero on Felt Table. And I've never felt better playing a deck in Flesh and Blood in my life. And it doesn't even have all the cards yet.
Really? Wow, that's a hot take. Is that because you were playing against a robot who sucks?
Let's not. I think it's partly... the hero power is so good on that hero. Like, who cares about the gold token? Using a Gorganian tome to get a courage effect... Using a Hope Merchant's Hood to get a courage effect, pay yellow, get a courage effect, and draw a powerful red. It's like, it's disgusting because there's an idea of like, oh, the gold, the army is going to be really good. I feel like if you have one army dude up, it's good. And just use your gold tokens to just fish for your better cards and turn on your swords for free. Because it's not really free if you're paying a yellow to use your gold, but it's like I'm swinging my sword both times, and I'm going to go try and find a card that has go again on it.
Interesting. We'll
High Striker. Ever heard of it?
I have. I think put that in a Kasai Blitz deck once upon a time.
High Striker. Swing a sword at your Ashwing. Make 6 coppers. Now I'm ready for blood on her hands. You're already dead, bro. What's the point of
That's an assassin card already dead. Come on, dude.
You're already gone. You're already toast.
You're toasted.
Yeah,
well,
so that's
cool.
what I've been doing instead of actually working. So that's why I'm gonna seem tired this whole time on this podcast and lazy and sad because I stayed up so late playing
No,
that.
that's just like NPR Energy, which is a very successful model. So I think it's going to be fine. There goes my dog leaving the room. Hello, everybody. This is Taylor while I'm editing the podcast. Our advertisements for the show got buried an hour in there and took 100 years because me and Blake were just having such a good time. So I'm going to put them right here. Please support us. The best way you can do that is through Patreon. We are an audience-supported podcast, so every bit helps. It's $4 a month. It gets you access to the Discord, which is one of the most wholesome places on the internet for Flesh and Blood, so I recommend you going there. It also will get you an invite to the Attack Action Podcast Hype House happening at the beginning of April. We are just trying to recreate the outside of tournament vibes and memories that if you've been to a calling, a battle hardened, or had to travel for a ProQuest or a Road to Nationals with a group of friends, you know how fun that can be. So we just want to spend that time with our most beloved audience members, which would be our patrons. So check that out. If you are not in a financial space to do any of those things, feel free to just like, subscribe, comment on stuff, share it around, tell a friend. That is also a great way to help us. So really appreciate you all, and happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners in the States. Okay, back to the show. Well, if the audience members have noticed, I have a bit more of a rasp, or like I've been yelling vibe to my voice today. And that's because I have been. We had our very first basketball game last night. And so basketball season is in full effect. Home opener, season opener. Huh?
Did your team spread out?
Yeah, they had great spacing. They spread out, and we smoked the team we played. You know, they had the opposing team had 9 points at halftime. So if you don't know, that's very low.
That's not a lot. Yeah,
that's not a lot of points.
How are the moms on your team? Are they good at cheering? Do they know all the old school cheers?
I have pretty good moms on my team. They're supportive. They cheer positively, you know.
Because that was my favorite thing of going to the basketball games back in Texas was we know every single cheer of pass it up, shoot it in, pass it up, shoot it in. That's the only way to win. Pass it up. And just constantly, like when they're on offense, do that, or on defense, REBOUND, rebound at basketball, rebound at basketball.
Okay, so obviously, Blake, my school would like to hire you for game time prep and crowd prep. I don't know. We fucking need that type of energy.
I used to go to some friends' dodgeball stuff and cheer, and I can fill up a room with my voice, and their opponents complain to the head judge of, can we have that guy not cheer this loud?
Because you're hired.
Their team name was Throwbo Cop, and they had just a long cheer where it was Throwbo, and I would just sit in the back and just say it as loud as possible, and they're like, get this guy out of here.
Well, we need you. That would add an excellent
You guys are pretty good, though. If 9 points, I don't know. Maybe it would throw your team off, too.
No. I had to sub down in the first 2 minutes because it was 10-0, right away. Like they shot the ball, etc. So it was cool. I was a little bored in the game because I'm like, okay, come on, make an adjustment. Okay, he's not making any adjustments. I guess I'll just keep subbing and put in these weird lineups and see what happens. What was really funny moment, I'm at one of the games that precedes ours, the JV, one of the JV games, and talking to my volleyball coaches. And they're like, our football team. Oh, this is a whole other story, which maybe I'll get into. But our football team miraculously made it to the section championship, which is one of the highest levels you can achieve in California. And we won, which is a separate story, which I'll tell in a second. So I had one day and we're a small school. So most of my basketball team plays on the football team. So football ended on Saturday, so that I got my whole team together for Monday. And then our first game was Tuesday. And I was talking to the volleyball coaches and they were asking how the football kids are doing. I was like, our skill seems pretty good, but our conditioning obviously is not there. And, this is the millionth year I've done this. I'm like, one of them is going to throw up in this game. It happens every single year. One of them runs around and throws up. And, First sub off the bench, goes in there, plays for 2 minutes, sprints off the court, pukes in a trash can. And I just locked eyes with the volleyball coach and we just started laughing. The child is fine. His parents were there. He's fine. He's fine. But okay, so the football story. So we're scheduled to play a private school in San Francisco, and they're the number 1 seed. But as a private school who's very rich, you do not have to own your own football field. You can just say, hey, I'm just going to pay the money to rent out a really nice stadium in San Francisco. We don't need one. So we're just going to do that, Well, the city of San Francisco owns that field, and inclement weather was predicted, and there were already football games being played on that field, and the city shuts down their field so that they do not get ruined by rain and football people.
Right.
So the school that we were scheduled to play, who's the number 1 seed, couldn't have a field for our game. So in the bylaws, it says it goes to the number 2 seed or the opponent, which was us. So now our 5-hour trip to San Francisco is gone. And this other team has to travel 5 hours to us, and they're swimming.
They're not used to doing that.
No. Their AD was like, "So what charter bus do you normally use when you go down here?" And I'm like, "We use the school transportation, and our coaches drive 10 hours in a day."
Right.
That's the world we live in. And then they're like, "Okay, is your field at the same address as your school?" I'm like, there are 2 streets in the town where this school is at. You A, could not miss the high school, and B, yes, the field is there because we're a public school. Rain, game happens, rain, wind. By the 4th quarter, the only way I could tell which team was which was because their helmets were different colored. They were just all covered in mud. It was insane. Then we're up 3 touchdowns, 3 minutes and 22 seconds left. The opposing team has the ball. Power goes out. Scoreboard's gone. Lights on the field are gone. Whole town is out of power.
People to count out loud in the back.
Yeah. I mean, we can't, it's like 5, 6 o'clock at this point. So it's just impossible to continue to play. So anyway, after long deliberation with the governing body for our athletics and the opposing athletic director and their coach and stuff, we all agreed that that the game would end as is. So my school wound up winning a football section championship.
Congrats.
Amazing.
You
I would
did
be
it.
so pissed if I was the other team, though. Like, could you imagine if your senior year, you worked so hard, you're the number 1 seed, you're going to get a home playoff game for the section championship, and then you got to drive to the fucking middle of nowhere. Like, I can't explain to you how in the middle of nowhere this is. The view from our field is trees. There are only trees in the background.
I mean, be better, That was a thing growing up in West Texas, is we would go 4 hours to some of our district playoff games because Abilene's 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And so sometimes out of district, we would play a team from Dallas,
Hmm.
and Dallas coming to Odessa would be 6 hours. And so those
Yeah.
teams never really travel
Yeah.
outside 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And they'd be like not used to it and tired. And like that was the only way we had a shot to beat them.
Yeah.
And so there was my senior year, we beat Euless Trinity in the third week of the season, but then we played them again in the 13th week and they crushed us. And we were the only people that beat them in their like 15-1 year where they won it all. And it was like, are we better players than them, or are they just tired and maybe they don't know their offense that well? Three.
Yeah. It was
You got to take it when you can get it, and that
Yeah.
that seems like you took it when you got it.
totally. I just feel bad for the other team to just be like, you know, in our talks with the opposing coach, I was like trying to clarify with our section, like, okay, so would the game, if we suspend it and replay those last 3 minutes, would it be, where would we play it? And they're like, it would stay at the site it was at. And he was like, oh, hell no, we're not coming back up here, which is totally fine. So
For 3 minutes, that'd be insane if you said,
3 minutes.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I
Can you
mean, you
imagine?
never know, on better weather conditions, like they might have been able to pull it out. I mean,
3 touchdowns in 3 minutes.
yeah,
That's not how the game works.
you got to do some onside kicks and other.
It's probably better in the rain for that.
Yeah, totally. It was crazy. Okay.
One
That's
thought process I had when you were talking about these
Yeah.
basketball and are you going to make an adjustment or not? Is there some correlation to you doing your basketball lineups and maybe looking in your bag for different decks when you know there's people that you're going to play against that are bad? You have a fun deck and you have an aggro deck, or this is my top meta deck. Is that
yeah.
how you think of your lineups when you start off?
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe when I was a different person, but now I'm just like, you know what? I got Arachne sleeved up. That deck's fun as fuck. That's the only one I'm bringing. I still have
Okay.
Icelander sleeved up in the bag just because it's in there, just in case.
Right.
But, you know, no, I don't bring the the repertoire anymore. It just takes a lot of time to sleeve cards and get them out of the binder and stuff. And this is just what I got going. So we don't really change it. Let's move into the news section, shall we? Let's move this podcast along here. So Worlds happened. And this is basically what this podcast is going to be about. We're going to be talking about Worlds. But one of the huge things I think that was really amazing that happened at Worlds is the sealed event, I believe on Sunday at Worlds, had almost 1,000 participants. Over 900 people participated in Bright Light Sealed.
So
Insane.
I'm going to not try to start off this as extremely negative to start off. But if you think about it, how many of those almost 1,000 people actually played, and how many of them bought an $80 sigil for $30 and then dropped?
I don't know.
Because there was some, oh, that's why it was so big. Because who would want to play in a thing? But like, oh, I'll grab a sigil on the way out of here to my train, and it's Sunday night after everybody's like, we're all so tired. Let's go get some sangria and get ready for our plane tomorrow.
Tapas.
Some TAPAS. I don't want to pronounce anything completely wrong.
But you'll just spell it. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Can't spell something wrong if you kind of know it.
I mean,
I'm not
what
trying
do you
to
think?
be like
500 people did that, you know? Just
I mean,
like,
it makes sense. So your plus
Yeah.
money of get a sigil for $30, sell it to your local who needs a copy of every card. Wait for it to go to 100. Okay, I just made $70, and that's kind of paid for this big dinner I'm about to eat.
yeah, maybe.
I don't know, pragmatic. I don't know. I don't know if 900 people were like, I love this weekend so much. I need to play one more layer of Bright Light Sealed before I go.
Yeah, I don't know if it's if it's that also. Obviously, Blake, it's a spectrum, but
It's true. Yeah, everybody's doing everything.
yeah, I would not say it's like 200 people were there to be sweaty and try hard, and the other 700 were just like, give me that promo.
Yes.
Sealed, I
Give me
think,
that
is
promo.
really fun in bright lights. I think that has something to do with it. It's my favorite sealed
There was a calling
experience.
sealed.
Was there?
That was the
Oh,
calling.
that was the calling. Yeah.
So that is a thing where it's like, we did this 2 days ago.
Yeah.
We got to do it again right before we go. let's do it one more. Run it back.
Yeah.
I don't have enough recharges and gas ups yet. I need 19 of them before I get out of this convention center. Was it at a convention center? Was it at a church? Where they play?
I have no clue. They probably played somewhere cool.
A basilica, maybe?
I'm not even sure what any of those things are.
We never had to worry about it because you were never going to spend $3,600 in the middle of basketball season to go to Barcelona, were you?
I thought about it because it works out time wise, but no, probably not.
You got to stick to your tier 3 things in your own state.
It's just it would add too much stress to my life,
right?
And I would feel like I'm letting my team down. So I won't. I'm not doing it, but maybe in my old age next year, who knows? Let's talk spoilers also, shall we? That's in the news. Spoiled.
Cool, go for it.
Spoiled.
Just kidding. Spoilers. It's so funny of like, okay, we announce our championship on a Sunday. And do you guys want to have 1 day of rest or 1 day of breath? No, immediately go. And there's already spoilers being announced. Something talk is going to have one. Here's a spoiler of a spoiler thing. That don't worry, there's going to be, and then there's people that are like, I got my email today, and that's always my least favorite part about spoiler, is we got to know that everyone has one, but they let us know we can't tell you until December 37th that we have it. And this may seem like a broken record of what you normally say about spoilers, but it is like, let's just fast forward and get me to like, and like, I'm not even going to care about expansion slots this time around because I'm going to obviously be caring more about the Brute Warrior and Guardian cards because those are classes that I play. Like the only like, I'm excited about what Assassin could get, but other than that, all the cards I actually want to see are actually in the main set this time around.
Yes.
True. Because how many of those things are bait? Do you think there's a Kano specialization popping up in 3 days?
Why? Who said that? That's out there?
There's somebody, I don't know if it's a Photoshop or if they literally just got the same card as Blazing Aether and just cut around it to only show specialization.
I mean,
Kano.
maybe. Who cares? Let's do it. Give everybody specializations.
I mean, I've been wanting one for Reinhardt for literally 4.5 years or something at this point.
Yeah, totally.
I've only played the game for almost 3 years now.
My gripe, if we're going to gripe, is that they say, here's spoiler season, these specific dates. And then, like you said, everybody goes, oh my God, I got a spoiler card. It's coming out December. And you're like, that's outside of the realm of spoiler season. Can we just say, these are the spoiler dates, comma, and select people will be trickling cards in leading up to these dates?
I mean, the more information you tell your player base, the better. I don't like having to guess. I don't have the information because I'm not in the club. That always feels bad, especially when maybe you're somebody who runs a podcast or you commentate in your local stuff and you're like, I'm giving back to this community in my own way, but I'm not a part of the club or whatever of the spoiler season stuff. So it is like I get to watch other people have fun and spoil cards and hope that I'm good enough next time to get one or something. Like, and then it's interesting seeing the same 17 people spoil one every time. And you're like, what is better? Like me spoiling a brew card that's like never played, that's a rainbow card, or not getting one at all? There's just like because I'm not in the club spoiler and until I'm see the Majestics that are brute, or see the new Kasai cards, I'm gonna be like just on edge and pins and needles of like what's going on here. And I think the thing that I wanted to complain the most about the Bright Lights one was the order in which they spoiled cards was so bad that I hope they took some time to actually roadmap the expansion slots of where it makes sense of not putting the worst card next to the best card to start off and ignite a player base of like, why is there a Tome of Imperial Flame right after a Brood card that nobody's going to use?
I guess that's fair. My thing is that there's probably no right way to do that.
There's a wrong way, though.
I know, but it's like, I don't know what the crossover is. I don't know. I don't really care.
No,
at this point,
it's something where it's just like people are going to complain no matter what. I think that's my favorite thing about things that have more than 5 people is some of my 17,000 player base said they didn't like this, but some of my other 17,000 player base said they did like this. Which is it, guys? And it's like there's 17,000 viewpoints.
Yeah.
That's a number I'm pulling out of nowhere. That's not how many Flesh and Blood players are.
I think we figured that out when you said December 37th. That you're just making up
there we
numbers.
Go. Somebody's paying attention.
That you're just making up numbers.
The numbers are made up.
Me and Colin are trying to practice spoiler ambivalence as a podcast who would really, like to feel the validation that somebody has noticed the work and time and commitment we've put into to the thing. And one of those ways is, getting invited on the cruise ship with the cool kids to New Zealand. And the other one is getting a spoiler card. But now I'm trying to just be a nihilist about it and who cares? You know what I mean? And nothing about spoiler season bothers me. I just try to get excited for new cards. That's an exciting time to think about the game and think about the new mechanics and, am I going to financially support this new hero, blah, 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 etc. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I understand your sentiments 100%, Blake, but as the game grows, it becomes, I don't know, probably like increasingly hard to figure out how to do that stuff,
Right. And I think it's funny because we can see the layers of insular stuff of if we're going to introduce new people to this game and grow it, I think it was a little bit more interesting 2.5 years ago where it felt like you could come into this space and do whatever you want and not be like, I'm 5 years behind. And so having the same spoilers every single time going to the same groups, and then the circle gets smaller, and then it's here's our heavy hitters of we're going to invite these specific people to New Zealand. And now you're never going to be a part of that if you showed up in the last year and a half. Like, if you're going to be part of the group, you kind of already had to be in here, unless you're going to walk in with, I'm a famous person from another card game and I have 70,000 followers from the time I won a Magic GP. And then you're going to be like, that's somebody where you're like, oh, it'd be so cool to see if he's good at Reinhardt. And then there'll be like, let's get you on a video with the professor and what. And it's like, okay, like I get that I haven't paid my dues and won a GP as a Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh player or 7 other card games that I could have won something, but I'm just a person who really likes Flesh and Blood and really likes a certain hero. Is there something for me, or should I like just passively participate instead of actively participate and try to make videos? I think there is a layer of, do you do it for fun? Obviously you do it for fun, but if you say it to an empty fan base or like that, a spoiler card or whatever is here's 50 followers that maybe you wouldn't have had, facilitated by the top dogs.
I also wonder too, because obviously they're trying to get the most eyeballs on their game, and I wonder what the data is too for, like if I'm a new player, do I get more excited to see a spoiler card for a game I maybe barely play or I'm thinking about playing? Like,
Right.
Because that doesn't happen in other games I'm around that I'm like, whoa, cool, That,
Because I think,
but that's just me. That's anecdotal, right? So I don't know what the numbers are for, like, if we give X person and they have, this many thousands of followers, does that then equal this many new players, and that equals this many dollars?
right. And we're basically burping right now as we're talking because I just almost did it too, because we're trying to really talk around a sensitive subject. But like, I think an example we have is like someone like DM Armada does spoilers for other card games, but I'll pay attention to his video about the new hero for Flesh and Blood. But when he says, here's this other card game that's either, I don't know if it was Battle Spirits Saga or something Clash or whatever, I don't click that video. And so the vice versa would be true of, hey, this is a Hearthstone streamer that we're going to pay to spoil our brand new legendary card for heavy hitters. It's like, how many of those? Yes, there may be 30,000 Hearthstone fans of that guy, but how many of them are going to care about Flesh and Blood?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where it's like, I don't know. Like, I think the idea of, well, 3 Floating got a hero and everyone loved it, and that's one of our favorite video people that do things in our community, so let's celebrate them. Same thing with, I'm the quintessential Dash, so if we're going to have a new Dash, let me do it, etc., etc. Like, I like those a little bit more than we just have a bunch of followers and maybe we could get some new players.
Yeah,
but I don't know the math behind all that. I know some other things that I feel more strongly about that I'll fight for, but like, that's a thing where I'm like, legendaries and heroes. I want to know our heroes for heavy hitters now, because like, thank God they on the Friday of Worlds were like, here's Kasai, the Golden Sands, because I feel like that was the hypest moment of the weekend for me, of like, holy crap, everyone that I told, shut up, we're never getting an adult Kasai. Here's one. She's got a different hero power.
Yeah.
You can use her old cards, but there's going to probably be some new things to do with her. And now you can play a consistent warrior with on hits an entire CC game instead of just hoping Dorithia is good enough.
Right. Excuse me. Which is a great segue into Kasai of the Golden Sands. So our new warrior hero, dope art. Love
Dope
it.
art.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I really have always liked Kasai, is because she's a fucking badass.
She gets shit done.
40 health, 4 intellect, the classics. Hero power reads, if you have drawn a card this turn, your sword attacks cost 1 less to activate. Once per turn action, banish 2 reds and 2 yellow cards from your graveyard. The next time a weapon you control hits a hero this turn, create a gold token, go again. So, really,
everything you could want in hero power.
Yeah, I mean, really cool. Creating a gold token is, as we know, very cool, very good, and there's an increasing amount of applications for that. And then just like, it's pretty insane to incentivize you to draw a card. You already want to draw a card, but now you get 2 free resources off of drawing a card, which is crazy. That's a crazy ability.
There's so many ways to draw a card. Like, I think based on what I'm trying to say
Glistening
right now,
Steelblade.
there you
Boom.
go. Like, it's Glint the Quicksilver, but
that's what I meant. Glint the Quicksilver.
That's one where you're like, oh, I'm not going to have enough resources to do this, I glint the Quicksilver against the computer opponent, and then I'm like, oh my god, that's free now. So now I can do the one cost reaction as well. It was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I don't know if you've played any Kasai in Blitz at all, but she was by far my favorite deck.
Oh, so
I
fun.
like the math is perfect with her. And I haven't been playing her recently because she does lose to maybe Chain, but now she's the deck to beat this Saturday. I'm gonna be doing Rhinar instead because I'll let somebody else borrow my Kasai deck because I'm such a nice person. But like the math in Kasai is perfect because the second swing is always free.
Yeah.
So you're gonna lose that out on the new version of Kasai. And there's the idea of, well, one of her specializations requires copper, one requires gold. I think a good deck is going to play both and be able to get both because her hero power is kind of what Iron Song Versus is doing. Of your opponent was never going to block you, but now you're giving them you have to block this or I'm going to get something on top of my normal damage. Because getting a courage token from Versus and a gold token from my hero power is that 2 damage is now it's going to be 1 in the future and a gold. Like you're falling behind unless you block this sword for 2.
And then it makes it super easy to play cash in once you have a gold token, and that's cool. 3 copies of cash in.
3 copies of cash in Kasai for the rest of your life.
For the rest of your, that's so many cards to draw.
And it turns on your hero power.
Yeah, which is nuts. You can run Potion of Luck now.
Oh my gosh.
Are you running Sift? Are we running Sift now? Probably not.
I mean, I built a list. I'm obviously because I keep talking about it.
There's probably going to be more ways too. Like there's already enough ways to kind of get that going. And then there's obviously going to be more ways to do it out of this set. But moving right along with more spoiler cards, we got Raise an Army, which is a warrior action that is free. It's a yellow, blocks for 3, and it's a Kasai specialization. As an additional cost to play this, destroy X gold you control, create X Centauri Cell Sword tokens, go again. And then we got Centauri Cell Swords. They're allies. They're 3 attacks, 2 health allies, once per turn action, costs 1 attack, go again. Centauri Cell Sword can only attack if you've attacked with a weapon this turn.
First impression.
Yeah, first impression.
How many army members do you think you need to make that card good?
Probably 2.
That I thought it was gonna be 4. Two is like amazing.
Yeah. Well,
like I thought, you're gonna have to get 4 and you're balance them, but like you're only gonna have 1 extra resource, maybe 2 extra resource to even swing the swordman. And I think the swordmen aren't going to really be like, there's going to be whole classes that are just going to leave them up the whole game.
Yeah, possible. Because, we were talking about this in the Discord. Shout out to our Discord. You have to jump through a lot of hoops to get these mustachioed fellas out there. You have to attack with your weapon. You have to have drawn a card. You have to make these gold tokens. And then you got to raise an army. And then you have to have enough gold tokens to make it worth it to get them. And then once you have them, you have to have attacked with your sword with go again already, for them to come in and do anything. Because you can't attack with them first. You can't go sell sword. Now it's Kasai. It's like you're the vanguard of your army before they show up, What... 2 makes it worth it because for 2 resources, it's 6 damage, which is a on rate scenario for normal cards. 2 for 6. You know what I mean? And then they block for 4 because they each have 2 health, So I think 2, 1 would still be good. It's like a third sword swing. You know what I mean? Off of a blue, basically, if you can get both of your swords to swing twice.
You're going to swing 1 sword, then the cell sword in between, and then the third sword. Your second sword is the third attack.
Yeah, which is really cool. So I hope there's more than one way to make Centauri Cell Swords. That would be cool. To just make like a single one If you've
If this hits, make a Centauri Sellsword. That'd be pretty
totally.
stupid.
If this hits and you've made X number of tokens or whatever, get a sellsword. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Right.
But then it's like the end of your turn, so they don't attack. What the other thing I would love to have happen, and maybe this will be an alter I do, but the
Centauri
sellswords.
Sellswords, but it's the podcast hosts of Attack Action Podcast.
That would be cool. They should just all have different artwork because they're all different people. That's what they should have. Like they should be women.
One's
they should be
Taylor,
men.
one's Colin.
Yeah. One's Blake.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The other guy.
Yeah, I don't even remember who he is. I think it's gonna be sick. I've been wanting. We were just talking about this actually. Me and friend of the show, Levi. Shout out to Levi. He and me were talking about this very thing, getting like a hired mercenary specialization for Arachne because you have silver, and it's like, well, then you just hire this mercenary guy to like do some of your work here, and then let's have him in like a Blasmafet situation or a Nazareth or
and obviously
for
LSS
sure.
thought that was a smart idea, but I do think flavor wise it makes Kasai is the hero that this makes sense with.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
And
new cool way to play
I
warrior.
think the whole idea of here is a warrior that is going to be you're going to be on the defense against Kasai until like you have to have disruption against Kasai or you will be blocking for 45 minutes straight and probably losing.
Amazing. I hope so. Well, I don't hope so. That sounds lame, but
I mean, you play the disruption deck. Like you're going to be I'm not going to block the surgical extraction. I'm going to get blown up by that.
yeah, and then I'm going to pummel it. You're going to lose 2 cards. Blake, what do you think now about these other generic attacks? So money where your mouth is. Oh, excuse me. Money where your mouth is.
So pitch a blue, money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Nourishing emptiness, 9 dominate, make a gold, unblockable. This deck is pretty good.
That is cool.
9 dominate.
I would have.
Oh, but you could maybe have attack actions in your. Well, use your hero power to banish them first, and then play your nourishing.
Cool.
It's gonna be busted, bro. I have a 5-card hand.
I thought when we saw wager was going to be a thing that you would have to have a gold token to then like.
I'm glad you could make it out of nowhere.
Wager. Yeah, I think that's cleaner. I bet one of the things was like you gotta have a gold token to play this, but it's better that way. I think
money where your mouth is. We'll get into Kasai decks. I'm not too excited about those blocks of Test of Might, Test of Agility, unless I'm butchering those names. Let me click this button. Heavy hitters.
Yeah, Test of Agility. When this defends, clash with the attacking hero. The winner creates an agility token. Clashing heroes reveal the top card of their deck. The hero that reveals a card with greatest attack power wins.
So you're going to have to play a very heavy attack action deck to get the bonus of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing I was like, I love agility tokens for Reinar. I feel like that's really going to open him up. Of an agility token basically says, you rolled a 4 on Scapskins, go for it, bud. And I think if you told Reinar players that's what's going to happen coming forward, that'd be great. Agility tokens, though, Test of Agility, you're going to need to block with this card from hand. You can't play this from Arsenal. So you have 3 cards left plus an Arsenal, and you want to attack twice, means you can really only block with this Test of Agility because the math is pretty bad if you're blocking more than just the Test of Agility. And agility tokens pop no matter what at the start of your turn. So I think it will be I need to draw this at the exact right time because I can't put this in my arsenal and wait for the best time to use it. So I don't know if that's going to be as good as everyone maybe thinks. I don't know if everyone else is like, bro, we're way ahead of you. I don't want to play that. Test of Strength, however, When this defense clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates a gold token. I think that's one you could maybe use of I just want gold tokens and I can side this in against heroes that I know are going wide because I'm going to have bigger stuff.
Yeah.
But then you blow a tire as soon as you look at the top card and it's a non-attack action and your opponent has a double strike on top. That one beats yours nothing. And
Right.
I'm a person who's been looking at the top of my deck and hoping for a long time, probably a year and a half. And there's just some really bad options off the top of your deck. Give your opponent a gold token. Like, you can't be playing Test of Strength, my bad, against Kasai and maybe giving her a gold token. Like, that would be pretty bad. Hold'em is another one of these. Your next warrior attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager a Vigor token. Vigor is basically a tunic trigger.
Yeah.
At the start of your turn, you have to use it. So your first sword is free next turn, or you can kind of see this 1 for 3 giving you the 1 back, and it's actually a 0 for 3.
Yeah. It's nice it blocks for 3 as well.
That's warrior, baby.
Yeah. It's good. I think this is cool design space. It's new. It's fresh.
I think it'll be very fun in draft too.
Yeah.
Like, this will be exciting of like, instead of boosting a card and hoping it's an item, because now my dumpster dive gets +1 and I did a 1 for 5. It'll be like, let's look at look at the top card of both decks. We get a little bit more of information of what's going to happen in the future. And now someone else also has another thing that they can get incrementally ahead of you on.
Yeah. I like the design space so far of this. I was like a little less enthused to go back into the Guardian, Warrior, and Brute class. You know, I'm really looking forward to a new class. You know,
I mean, somebody literally wrote, hot take, I think heavy hitters will have Necromancer. And it's like, at a certain point, that's not a hot take. That's just
that's
the
a hot
dumbest
take.
thing I've ever heard.
No,
like,
that's what hot
happen.
takes are.
No, hot takes are, I'm going to root against a world favorite player because I don't really like them. Not, I'm just going to make up stuff, and they'll have to put Necromancer and heavy hitters because there's going to be so many dead bodies through.
Sure.
Sure.
Let's take a look at the outline. Blake, you're great at podcasting because you're just out here talking. Love it. Last thing I want to talk about in the news before we get into just talking about Worlds a little bit more was I loved that we basically got next year's OP roadmap out. And that's awesome. That makes my life way easier to plan and think about and that sort of thing. So I really appreciate that we got a huge heads up about
Amsterdam.
About all of that stuff. Pro Tour LA, not excited it's in downtown. Like when he's like, it's in beautiful downtown LA. I was like, okay, guy from across the world. Like, we should have just had it in Pasadena.
Oh my gosh.
It
is funny of making international people fly into LAX and then pay for an Uber to Pasadena. Like,
yeah, that does suck.
Oh, welcome. Give us $200 to our local Uber community. It's something where I think some of those people would be like, oh, I'm down to try public transportation. Like, I think you could Uber to like Palm, the street in Culver City, and then get on an Uber and then go to the Staples Center, because I'm never going to call it crypto. Go to the Staples Center on a train and then never get in a car again for 3 days and then do the same thing on the way back. I think what's funny is like people were making fun of Baltimore of like, oh, we're going to get stabbed. It's one of the most dangerous cities in the world. But there's people that live in Baltimore and play Flesh and Blood that are like, oh my God, please don't say that about my city. I think there is that layer for me of, if you want to spend some money and get a nice hotel that's literally overlooking the venue, you could probably be in one city block and have world-class entertainment, world-class food, and world-class hotel without leaving, without like literally walking 1,000 steps, which, and by that I mean you could watch a Lakers game, you could watch a Clippers game, you could watch a Kings game for hockey at the end of your 8-round tournament. I think is something that like I don't know if that's been done before because it's literally right next door to the venue.
Yeah, that's a good point, that there's a lot of stuff to do.
And Wolfgang's there. I think there's maybe a Gordon Ramsay around there. There's stuff where like maybe I'm trying to get to the actual foodie LA of the heart of the city. Well, we can tell you where to go. That will be an Uber, but there's also people are coming here to enjoy, like there's conventions all the time is what we're trying to say. There's nice restaurants allegedly. You could do that corporate version of LA, or you could drive an Uber to Jitlada and try some of the best Thai food in the world.
Nice. Well, you heard it here first. Blake is I'm
going to go to Jitlada today.
He is going to be tweeting.
Your guide.
I'm
the Sunflower Samurai of Los Angeles.
There you go. Blake Meier. Follow him on Twitter at Blake Shouts or whatever it is.
Well, there's a lot of hate.
His BS. Shout out to all the cosplayers at Worlds. That does not get enough coverage at all at Worlds. It's just, for sure an afterthought. And for people who spend like just as much time working on their costume as everybody like trying to grind and win at Worlds, I think they need just as much love outwardly from the stream. Even we could mention it on the stream, have a cosplayer on in between rounds of like draft. There's a lot of downtime, you know what I mean? And there's a lot going on at that venue, and we could probably cover some of that stuff. That would be great.
There was one thing about the keynote that I wanted to get your opinion on / say my correct opinion and see if you agree on.
Okay.
So one thing
I see what this is. Just a vessel for you to talk more, and then for you to have a pregnant pause for me to then interject.
The roadmap we've been working towards. Do not worry, guys. There will be 4 sets in 1 year. And I think one thing maybe I say a lot is it feels like this game should be 4 sets a year, because there's 3 months a year, and we're currently in one of those months where, or December will be, or even January, because like this is until February. When did Bright Lights come out? That was September.
I think so.
September, October, November, December, January, February. This is the longest in between sets I think we'll ever see. In a long time, actually. So I think sets, if we do 4 a year, would come out every 3 months.
Right.
And so anything longer than 3 months, that 4th month or that 5th month, which will be December and January, are going to feel very like we are in a stale thing. The new cards that we got are literally 3 months old or 4, blah, blah, blah. I'm begging for new cards. I want them so much. That'll kind of get solved by we have 3 sets a year because everything will be quicker. I know there's some people that are like, I kind of like that there's more room between sets because I don't have to buy a bunch of things. But I did not really buy a lot of Bright Lights product. So I kind of skipped a set because I'm not into mech. And so the last time I bought a bunch of cards and was excited about things was Dusk Till Dawn. And Dusk Till Dawn till Heavy Hitters is a long time. Of even more so of like, that's 8 or 9 months at that point. So I was very excited for, okay, we could get 4 sets a year. And now maybe if you don't want to participate in one of them because it's not your bag, baby, that you'd have another set coming up quicker.
So what's your question here?
I thought we were transitioning to 4 sets, but they did show us on the roadmap there will only be 3 for 2024 as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I
And
was a little bit like, what's going on here?
yeah, and it's like Heavy Hitters comes out in February, and then set 13, which is what we don't know yet, is in June. Right. So
So
that's
all
four
of
months away.
February, all of March, all of April, all of May. So it's 4 months. And then hopefully it's usually the first week of those months.
Yeah.
So that is a thing where, oh, if you're somebody who's like, dang, I really want a set full of assassin cards because they've kind of pledged to, no, we're only going to be doing draft sets. We're not doing supplemental anymore. If it's not your time to get a supplemental set or not your time to get a draft set, you're just getting maybe 2 cards for your hero every 6 months, which is like, that sounds fun until it's your turn to rotate to where you're only going to get 2 cards. Like I'm so glad Heavy Hitters is coming out because I think this will give me 3 new heroes to play for the next like year and a half of my life because I like all these heroes. And then whenever the Arcane set comes out, maybe all those Runeblade and Wizard players get new tools and fun things for them to use. They LL their current heroes and then play the new heroes a bit.
I think 2024 seems fine. You know,
3 sets a year is okay.
yeah, 3 sets is fine with me. I mean, it feels like a lot when you look at, so Heavy Hitters comes out and then we have Road to Nationals. And that, that'll probably be mixed draft and CC. And then in April we have ProQuest and that'll be draft and CC, which will be Heavy Hitters also, so maybe Heavy Hitters will be around too long by the time the 13th set comes out for the national championship. But who knows? It does, like, looking at this, if we had a new set in let's just say January, and then a new set in April, and then a new set in July, and a new set in November, that feels insane to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know what's correct. It's more like how the OP seasons wind up going, because that's what changes, or that's what changes the meta in that sort of thing quickest. So it's like, it's Armory that to me feels stale. I mean, there's only 3 of us anyway, but it's like, if we're just grinding the same CC all the time,
Why don't you
that's
ever
also
FaceTime on Tuesday nights and just play in our Armory and just send $5 in Venmo?
Sure, yeah. Bring your iPad, and then I'll just sit here in the cockpit and I'll just play.
Are you down? Try that out.
Yeah, let's try that out. Let's do that.
I'm gonna be playing Kasai the Golden Sands, so
Perfect. I'll probably just play Arachne still. Okay. Blake's falling asleep.
No, your daggers don't kill my dude, so that's perfect.
That's fine. I don't need to kill your dudes. I just need to kill your
past weekend in Fab.
Your deck. Let's talk about Worlds now, Blake, specifically for the last bit of this podcast. Thanks also for coming on. This has been super easy. You're doing great. Keep it up.
I'm good at talking about things. I'm not good at playing the game.
So, well, you're fine at playing the game. Actually, I don't think we've ever played a game against each other, so I cannot say. I'm going to say you're bad.
I need to play more consistent decks so I can blame myself instead of my dice.
Fuck that. Play what's fun. That's where I'm at in my life. So, Worlds, it happened. I thought it was cool. As the World Championship is. I mean, it felt like more investment because friend of the show, friend of mine, Yuki Lee Bender, was on a rampage through Swiss, went 6-0 in draft, top 8'd,
Mm-hmm.
So that really was like a big story for me and someone I was like really rooting for. And just knowing like just having the extra validation for her to have like a podcast focused on the limited side of Flesh and Blood and then 6-0 draft at like the highest level tournament we have is just fucking sick.
Right. To
Like
be the one person
that's like
who
so
is doing
cool.
it in the top pods instead of, oh,
Yeah.
I barely got through and did 3-0
Yeah.
3-0 draft from like position 150.
Yeah, totally. And I have to do all of my games basically on stream.
That was insane. That was a little bit like they did that with Tao Tao that one time.
Yeah.
And Tao Tao, I don't know if we're bleep this out or whatever, but I think there was a layer of like Tao Tao being on stream 4 times in 5 rounds is something that I don't like that mentally for players because I hear about what streaming does to players because we do it at a local level with our tournaments. And I think there's something of, I think they put Yuki Lee Bender 6 rounds in a row of drafts. And you're just like, there's how many rounds? 14 or 12? 14. So 14, and then they have a whole day of 7 more games. So 21 games are going to be streamed. So that's 42 people that have the opportunity to be streamed on the highest level, and we get to learn more about them. So I thought that it was very interesting that Yuki is going to be 8 of those 42 opportunities. When I say like that, maybe 8 out of 42 isn't that much, and she was number 1, but it is something of like, let's see what's going on pod, or we're going to stick with one person, and it maybe we stuck with her because she kept winning, but there's also the idea of like, I want to learn more about other people playing this game on the world stage. Because like, thank God we learned about blue pitch people now. And everyone's going to know Pudding and Xing of like are godlike players and they have cool sleeves. And now we know how blue pitch works of everyone that cashes, we put it all into our team budget and divide it by the team. And now everybody gets it back. That's pretty cool. We don't do that in America. Oh, that may inspires us or whatever. And like, I think there's the layer of the in crowd that we've seen on every stream of like, if you start off with round 1, Michael Hamilton, you do that because he's a world champion. We're going to put someone else because they're a former Pro Tour winner, but we're not making any new stories.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to maybe pick out of a field of 400 of what could be good here, but it was very cool to see that 2-0 Teklo player of, I'm the guy with the balls to show up with Teklo today, and you're going to watch. This is why this deck is good. If I'm hoping to play Dash EO or Dash regular, because I can take them both out. I thought that was a cool story and a new person where that person's going to be able to explain his deck to our voracious Teklo fans around the world. And it's not that we've seen these players already. And I do know that like, if you're in Canada, you're probably like, no, she's our former national championship. I'm rooting for her. I'd love to see her as much as possible. There's just 85 countries. I don't know how many countries, 40 countries. There's 36 countries. There's 25 countries represented. Just cut around that and pick which one's true. But it's like, I think there's a layer of, not that I'm bagging on cover, but I think it was so interesting to see new players. And that opportunity for Alex of maybe you backdoored your way into the top 8, but boy, did you make the best out of it. And 2 years in a row, the 8th seed goes all the way. And now here's not only $100,000, but here's 2 years where people are going to really care about you and want you to be as involved in the community that you want to be in. We do care about your opinion because you're one of the 2 people that have put it all together on the day of.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge shout out to Alexandros from Greece. I mean, that's also like the other huge story that like I felt like just like that just didn't even wasn't big enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the dude wins a ProQuest ever. You know what I mean? like most notable thing, and then goes on to win worlds on Fi, you know? When we see like, oh shit, everybody's playing Icelander, Dromai, and Bravo. Like uh substantially more than everybody else. You know what I mean? Like these are the decks people have picked. And
I thought it was interesting that you go through both the Icelanders in the top 8 and
mhm,
my local 5-player Taco Time, Anthony Del Taco Zacella, he was like, the matchup kind of comes down to did they get the Insidious Chill in the first 3 turns? Because that's the piece of disruption that Icelander needs to kind of leverage and get it going. And neither of the top 8 matches got the Insidious Chill.
yeah.
So if you're a 5-player who's known that deck in and out for a year and a half and played this matchup 45 times, you knew damn well that Alex was going to be able to do it because there just wasn't the piece of disruption that they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have full information, or I guess I do. I could go look, but LSS's website has been, or excuse me, Fab TCG has not been reporting decks correctly on their website. But Brain Freeze is huge in the Fi matchup when they have a single blue and you Brain Freeze and take their 0-cost blue out of their hand.
Get that Soul Bead strike out of there.
Yeah, totally. That's huge. So I don't know if they were like fully prepared for Fi in the top 8. I'm sure they were prepared for these other 2 matchups. Only 45 Fis in the whole tournament.
45s? Get it?
Yeah. Nice. And
That's
watching
why,
him
yeah.
watching Alex play his top 8 matches too. He just did what you got to do to be the world champ is you're just getting you know how to play your deck. You have your combat tricks and you're getting all of these little advantages out of all of your cards. That's like one of the things Fi does is he pings you for 6 damage over the course of the game or over the course of a turn. It's like, okay, well, I blocked, but you still took 6 because you took 1 here, you took 1 there, you took 2 here, etc.
Right.
And he was just so good at leaning into all of those things. And,
Did you watch his Final Four match against the Dromai player, Aaron?
Yeah, I did.
That was something where I was like, I have not seen. I don't know if Aaron was drawing bad or maybe just didn't have Ash quite away. Oh my gosh, Ash generated right away. But it felt like this Dromai is not getting dragons down. There's no real pressure happening, but Dromai's still like blocking a whole bunch and taking like 4 a turn.
Yeah.
For like 10 turns in a row. I was like, how is this happening? Like,
yeah.
Dromai seems like such a hard deck to crack and get into all these pieces, but maybe these double strikes and Shuko activations. And there was Kadachi. Was Kadachi against
Dromai
as well, or did he go to Emberblade?
Mm-hmm. No, he used
Emberblade's
for
Kadachi's. Emberblade is gonna. Yeah, that makes way more sense when you think about it, Blake. So Kadachi's. It was interesting seeing like I'm gonna try and layer this mass trigger too, and like everyone loses to ninjas as soon as you forget about ancestral, and I think there was. I think what was also refreshing to see is like it's top 8 and we're making awful armory mistakes still of like. We're gonna ancestral empowerment a Blaze Headlong like an idiot, but we do that on a random Tuesday. Of course, we're not gonna play 100% perfect. And as soon as somebody does that, it's like everyone in the chat's like, burn the witch, get him out of here.
Yeah.
But I think it is something where it's like resolving that and judge calls and that is part of the daily like. I'm gonna remember this forever because a judge call cost me $7,500 because it's the difference of being 8th place and 4th place. Like, I think that's something where I like the story of that coming back from Worlds of not that judges are bad, but just like you want to be on your P's and Q's, but even at the highest level, somebody's gonna do something dumb and maybe lose a game because of it. Is refreshing to see of like. Some of these pro players that are expecting to win $100,000 every time they enter one of these tournaments are kind of like you and me too, still at this point.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Maybe in 2 years from now they'll be robots and not ever forget a tunic, but we're not that far into our game where it doesn't look like if I practice Fab for 400 days, could I make some, I mean, Worlds 2025, could I win if I played 500 games of Fab, 500 days of Fab?
I don't know. Blake, start that challenge now. Let's find out.
I don't know.
You have the power.
My hero would get Living Legend right before I was playing Lexi, and then that's one thing that's propped up recently of like everyone not complaining. I don't want to say that, but like being like I don't even know if I should build Dromai. Like she's getting Living Legend in like 2 months tops. Like I don't know if she's even going to make it to LA. And it's like, well, Dromai's been around since July 2022. So we're 16 months into her lifespan. So if you're a normal card game, you're expecting maybe 6 or 8 months more of a normal. She rotates after 2 years. So it would be like if you're playing a good deck because you want to be successful, I don't think you can also be like, I'm kind of pissed that it's going to Living Legend because you want to win. You have to play the best deck. The best decks are going to get Living Legend points.
Yeah, that's true.
Grab a Welcome to Wraith hero and be like the rest of us.
Never LL. But yeah, so to reground us, another huge shout out to all the top 8 people.
Yes.
Like, amazing job. It's cool. I like
Not
Worlds.
Michael Hamilton though. What happened?
Well, shout out to Chris Ioli, who still was in the, top
17th,
17th, almost
hate
16th.
To see it.
But he brought Max Nitro, which is also sick.
Play a real deck, Chris. Why'd you do it?
I still think that's sick. Like, that's a cool story we didn't follow up on. Did he
end up playing Max Nitro CC at all that day on stream? Because I didn't watch the second half. Like, I watched the Reinhardt versus the Phi match from day 2. I didn't watch a lot of day 2 CC because that was the other thing. We're on West Coast. How late did you stay up each one of those nights?
None. I just got up early in the morning and rewatched them.
I did the opposite and started at midnight and watched for 3.5 hours the first night. And it was like, it's draft. Or I stayed up on day 2 and was excited to watch it. It was 12:30. We're starting a little bit late. And I was like, oh, crap, it's draft. I went straight to bed. I was like, God damn it. I don't care about did we boost or not or whatever. But then the next day for finals, it was Saturday night for us. So we're drinking from the football games and we're hanging out with the homies. So it was like, okay, I'm kind of tired. I also put out a tweet where it was like, I'm rooting against Canada, and it looked like Canada was going to take it home in top 8. So I was like, I'm just going to go to bed and hope this doesn't make me look like an idiot. And then Alex was the champion, my champion. I'll buy him a beer one day. Unless he doesn't drink.
Well, then we'll
buy him some gummy bears.
Yeah, whatever he imbibes in, So I think that's really cool. I would have loved to have, like Michael Hamilton, like in the top 50, not in the top 50.
I think he showed up around 30 to 40. Yeah, he wasn't too far behind Chris.
Well,
not that they'll be tied together forever, but maybe
they kind of are.
Maybe that is a thing of we'll think of Alex versus Xing for the rest of the next 5 years.
31. Michael Hamilton finished 31st.
Which is top 32.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what we care about is 8, 16, 32, 64.
Well, if we go all the way down to 64, Michael Fang coming in at 63.
Sheesh.
128? Who's down there?
I got 186 at a call once.
Brian Lorenz, 127. Let's go.
Sheesh. What do you think? Are we sad that Lexi didn't make his Worlds? Or are we like, thank God we didn't have to watch a whole weekend of Lexi things again?
It's fine.
I
I like
like
it.
I like the Living Legend system.
Yeah, I'm happy with how Worlds turned
I
out and what the metagame was. Like,
and I think that makes Yuki's thing so much more impressive too. Of okay, I won Vegas on this hero,
yeah,
and now I'm going to top 8 with this one. You're just like,
yeah, absolutely.
sheesh.
Yeah. I've known all along Lukey. Yuki is crazy good at this game, you know? Uh another thing I will say is like I am glad that we got coverage of the draft stuff because we did get to see like what that draft format looks like at the highest level, which made it more cool in my eyes.
Right. Instead of just spam Teklo.
Yeah. So hopefully that changes the regular person meta a little bit more. Unlikely, but maybe that'll have some ripple effects. So I think that was really interesting. Also, on the weekend as well, we have the Living Legend format, the biggest tournament of that, and we have
Charles
Mono
Dunn.
Starvo.
Charles Dunn wins the first one locally, but then gets second at Worlds. So embarrassing for SoCal. Lucas Oswald, though, wins a tournament. So good for him. And Starvo's the first one to get double Living Legend points.
Doubled. Yeah.
Was it top 16 were all Starvo? Or
I think so.
That's insane. Like, clearly, if we're going to pretend to care about Living Legend moving forward, we're going to have to rebalance that. Because I don't want them to, for Living Legend, we need to print new cards that change it. It makes sense to ban older cards. I know we just said this is going to be a format where there's no bans, but I don't want to live in a world where I have to play against Rune Blades that currently get new cards that can like get around Warmongers just so Chain could maybe be viable in one tournament a year that Living Legend would do.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not that I get to decide.
I hope they continue to not ban stuff and let's have a few more tournaments and let's find out what like really happens. You know what I mean? Like, because how much time did people put into this format? Right? Did they just go, "Our Starvo's good. I'll just put all the broken cards in here and we'll just go for it."
Right.
You know?
And we had the one locally, so I guess I do know a little bit more about this than the average bear. And it's like, I think you do say the words of what Chain is so good. Why is he not around? And Warmonger literally beats him on his own, and it doesn't require you to change any cards in your deck.
Yeah.
You put it in your arsenal, you wait till Soul Shackle 6, you play, you block out, and then Warmonger and watch the Chain eat 15 blood debt and pass to you. And then you're like, great, you're dead. Also, stuff like Starstruck. If you want to attack the Chain, Starstruck is disgusting against what 12. Chain does.
Dominate, go again.
True.
It's terrible. So
and as well afterwards.
Sheesh. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I would like, for that to be a viable format, we need to have a few more tournaments, really see what the meta really would look like when people are a bit more focused on it.
I mean, why do you think there was 16 Starvos? Is it an idea of, well, the good Prism players didn't show up and play Prism? Or is it, honestly, Starvo can beat anything you put in front of him because he's only gotten better as more cards got released for Guardian. And there's nothing that you can do to get around that pressure of my hero power is so much better than you. That's why we went straight to Living Legend the first time around.
Well, it's a good hero. And
it's a good hero, Bob.
it's a good hero. I'd have to see what the tournament breakdown is too. Like, is our 60% of the decks Starvo? Then that just ups their odds. Right.
And I think people wanted to win that Prism statue and they paid their good money to play it. So I know we have the story of Lucas. Somebody tweeted out, he was looking for his 80 list the night before, wanted to play a different card, couldn't find it in his binder, so he played a certain. Who knows if we believe all that? Of course we do. Why would we not?
Yeah, why would not?
But like, that's who won the whole tournament, was somebody who put the night before effort into it. So it is kind of like, I get your viewpoint of how many people are taking this seriously. Charles Dunn, when I interviewed him for AGE Living Legend, was like, Starvo's my favorite hero of all time. I love this dude. I'm so excited to play in more Living Legend tournaments. I can't wait.
Yeah, totally. People, it's fun to play a broken deck.
Right.
It just is. To feel freaking powerful and unstoppable, like, it's fun. So makes sense.
And is the one sentence that everyone says that could balance it of make Briar have all of her embodiments, or does then that turn into, now it's a 2-deck format, and good luck trying to ever do damage against Briar if you're not Starvo.
Yeah, I don't know. You
need to know. You need to tell me right now.
I know. I'm just so it's coming to the end of the year, and
let it ride. Let it ride, baby.
Just let it ride, and I've put a lot of energy into getting fired up about a lot of stuff, and I don't know if that's making me a better person. So,
who cares?
I think my critique or my thing is, let's have more Living Legend tournaments, and then let's figure that out. If we have like the next 3 in the top 16 are still all Starvo, it's like, okay, well, maybe we will need to do something about this to make this legit, because it's like,
I think
it's an important format to have in the game.
Right.
I'll
agree with that. I think one layer of what you just said over this last 20 minutes is we kind of want to pat them on the back for draft is more complex than we are playing at our local levels, because Dash.io crushed these Teklos. We have another top 8 person bragging about, I fatigued multiple Teklos with my max deck. Maybe there's deeper layers than we could ever see, so we need to pat them on the back for how good Bright Light's draft is. But if we use those tournament results from Worlds, we should also use the tournament results of the Living Legend of, like, nobody wants to play. Like, if there was a fighting, this is literally, I do fighting games every time. If Chun-Li was the best character in Street Fighter 6 and there's no reason to play any other hero because they don't have the pressure or frame rate or all that stuff, it's a Chun-Li game instead of Street Fighter. You're not playing Street Fighter, you're playing Chun-Li Simulator. And I don't think that any other game that would have a top 16 of all Chun-Li would immediately, because they can work at lightning speed and in video games, give her shittier frame rates and give her shittier attacks.
Yeah, but yeah, and part of that though too is that they've had like in number more tournaments leading up to that also to get to that point, right? In that exact format, and we have not. So
are you playing at your local level, Living Legend, though?
No.
You're waiting for the bigger
Living
stuff?
Lurker, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Living Lurkers.
Now you can't play Fi in that. You could never play Fi in that. But
no. Even though Arachne can't beat Fi, which I'm still saying it can happen. People out there are mad at me because I said that, and I'm like, you just play the deck, etc. Anyway, play Living Lurker. Shout out to our YouTube. Go check out the Living Lurker tier list, and we've made a secret pact at our locals we're playing Lurker decks only, baby. So we're playing Riptides, we're playing Arachnes, we're playing Teklos, we're playing Maxes, we're playing, who else is down there? Prism, Vinset. It's sick. It's so fun.
I mean, I'd love to get into that. Like, my locals,
I know.
If I could talk crap about Evan real quick. Evan.
We're almost done here with this podcast, and you haven't mentioned Evan, and I was like, wow, we're going to do it.
He's a person who I let borrow my cassette. I didn't name him or whatever, but so this MFer, mother.
You can curse on our podcast.
This mother effer, watched Worlds. So he was crushing people with Lexi. He has now pivoted to, I never won a top tier tournament after Outsiders was announced. It's like you top forward, lost in the finals of so many tournaments. You're not gonna make me feel bad for you because you never won one, especially when you price split and made like $2,000 one weekend where I was like, oh my, how did this happen? He has pivoted to, I'm going to play Teklo. Then he does a 4-0 Teklo thing. So we're like, okay, he's going to play Teklo. Don't play Bravo in this meta because Teklo crushes Bravo and I don't want to lose to Evan more. So I show up yesterday, like, let's build some skirmish decks so we can play on Saturday. Guess what this guy plays at CC for Tuesday Night Armory? After, I'm crushing everyone with Lexi for a year. What does he show up on Tuesday with?
Azalea?
I'm going to play Alex's World Championship list 5.
You guys need to, at your locals, you got to make up some better rules here.
I literally need to just punch Evan or whatever in the stomach. But
no, you need to
drop his deck and I put my deck in his hands when he's not looking. But he 4-0s. He beats me in the finals by 1 point of damage. And he goes, bro, I need the XP. I need to be top 50 per Pro Tour LA. Currently, he's number 37. So it's like, bro, like
that can go away in an instant. Though,
I promise you don't need to step on our backs to get to new heights every single Tuesday. But
you need to enact Living Lurker format. Just put it in your Discord. Be like, hey, check out the Attack Action podcast. Let's do Living Lurker.
Do you guys know that one guy?
You won't, you cowards, and you get them like that, and then they're like, whatever, dude, here I come, Vincent all the way, and then you guys will have more fun.
We had a person playing Vincent on Tuesday.
Hell yeah! Imagine if everybody was playing Vincent.
New Elliott showed up with it.
Great job, New Elliott. Okay, let's wrap this sucker up here because I gotta go. Board game from the closet. So signature segment time. So here at the Attack Action podcast, we like mini games, board games, video games, the most dangerous game, mind games, etc. This might not be the best game, but it's one of the games we want to share with you. And this week, Blake gets to tell us about the game he brought from his closet.
It would be right here if I went downstairs, but it's not a visual medium. So I'm holding up a box that says Flux. Flux is, there's a couple games from this era of my life, Flux and Munchkin, where it's like you learn the base and then you could play any kind of version of Flux. They had Zombie Flux. They had Cartoon Network Flux. Flux is a game where the rules are always changing. So you're going to draw some rule cards. So look at you. You're a board game designer now. It's a board game you design as you go. And, I've got, it's like action cards. If we're going to use like flesh and blood terms, there'll be like non-attack and not there's like, you can do things with these cards. It'll be like trade cards with another player. But the cards that you're looking for, one of them will be like cookies. And one of them will be milk. And then the goal of the game that can constantly change, one of them will be like, if you have the cookies and the milk at the same time, you win. But the goal of the game is always changing and the rules of the game is always changing. So you have to, it's like a game you could play with your family that has like combat tricks from your favorite Magic or Flesh and Blood game. And you could be like, I tricked you, Mom. Take that. I have the milk and cookies, you dumb girl. Maybe don't put that in, but
yeah, don't call your mom a girl.
It is fun to. Well, I didn't want to say the other word, but it is fun to. You could never Iron Song response your mom because she's not going to learn how to play Arachne anytime soon. But you could flux your mom with the same type of feeling by taking her milk and cookies and then winning with the milk and cookies next turn. And she'll be like, you rascal. And then you could be like, I prefer scoundrel because it's more Old English and I'm trying to do an Old English part of my life.
Flux
That's
is a
me
game
tailoring it to your audience. So.
Flux is a game I've seen at the shop a lot and have never picked up. And I'm like, oh, there's Flux, this Flux and that Flux and
So
this
like
other Flux.
one is a zombie flux, and it'll be like now there's a bunch of zombies in the deck and they're infecting the deck, and you win the game if you have a getaway car, the gas can, and a shotgun. Or I have a zombie horde, you win the game if you have 4 zombies under your control. And so I would choose the flux that makes the most sense for you of I'm trying to play with family members, like Blake said, I'll do the original base one. Or I'm going to play with my friends that all really like zombie movies. Let's play the zombie version because we would obviously rather do that than. And like, there's bad cards you can give people or draw that just always stay around. So for the original one, it's death and taxes. So there's like some flavor of like, oh my God, I have death and taxes in real life. This is just like my real life.
Nice.
And it's been around since I've been in college. So I don't think it was a brand new game in 2008.
Like 20 years or something?
It's got some pedigree, bro. I've only been out of college for 12 years at this point. So.
Good for you. Way to graduate fairly on time. I'm assuming we're close in age.
You always have that dream where you're like, I didn't do it. I can't believe they let me graduate without doing that last class. And then they're like, we have to revoke your whole life because you had a dream that you didn't do it.
No way. I think they wanted me to take a class and I was like, no, I've taken this class at another institution. You will sign this paper saying so, so.
And now you're athletic director.
Yeah. Which sounds better than it is.
One of my best jokes I ever did was signing up to be the mathletic director
That is pretty good.
At my boys' state. I don't know if you've ever did boys' state growing up.
No, I'm a jock.
Well, they had jocks there. Okay. American Legion.
Sure.
You in between.
Sure
it's only for dudes. Sorry for all the girls out there, but it was,
of course it is.
Between your 17 and your 18, the summer before your senior year, you go spend a week of learning how government works with 400 other boys from your state. And they call it Boys State.
Sounds hot.
There's a documentary about it on Apple TV that I haven't watched, but it is about the Texas one, which is what I lived whenever I was 17, 18. And there's a song that we were taught to sing, which is literally insane because there's a part in the song where you like pause on the same word, but do 3 different notes on it.
Huh.
And we would sing it with boys
Down
from every
on my
part of
knees.
Texas come together here to meet new friends at Boys State to be a citizen.
Okay, all right. Don't. We don't need them. Oh my God.
And that's that one.
Now I just have to edit this out. Thanks, Blake.
Oh, you can't sing? I don't
No,
think it's
you
copyright.
can, but you can't. Got him.
And that's Blake's one and only time being a host on the Attack Action podcast.
Blake, thank you so much for stepping in and hanging out with me. It's we don't hang out enough, you and I, and so this was a great opportunity for that. I'm sure the deep lore wiki updaters of the Attack Action podcast will love it that you're on the podcast, and we'll, hyperlink all the episodes to this one when you're mentioned, etc. And that sort
I'm
of
just
thing.
glad
So,
the 7 people you asked before me all had Thanksgiving plans and families that care about them. Because I certainly didn't.
You were my first round draft pick, and we got you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Totally. So thank you. Thank you to the listener. Join the patron. Check out
Are you
going
to come to an AGE tournament this year?
Me?
Is that in the cards? I guess probably not.
I don't know if they would put out their roadmap like Legend Story Studios is doing.
Literally in 3 weeks, maybe.
That's almost a month away. That's like Christmas.
Let's do LSS rounding rules, and it's actually 2 weeks away. But it's actually like feels like it's 2 weeks, but it's actually 3.
Sweet. Well, then, depending.
Okay.
It depends. I'll find out. We'll see. When
you should just come.
I want to come.
Yeah, just this summer sometime, pretend you're going to a camp, but sleep on Colin and Blake's couch for 2 weeks.
I'm sleeping on Blake's couch this time.
Okay.
I've overstayed my welcome at Colin's. That's just in here now at the end of the podcast to see if he's going to listen all the way to the end. This is his
microphone. He's such a good guy.
He's so good.
He's in Hawaii, unless we can't say where he is.
I don't know. Just don't give him the address specifically, and then we're probably fine.
Lane.
All right, a strong ending to the podcast as always here. Thanks again, Blake. Thanks to everybody. We will see you all in the next episode. Oh wait, that's right. The next episode. See, only the real reels. Maybe I'll add this to the beginning of the podcast. Listen to the very end and get these tasty tidbits. End of the year is coming up. So that means December, we are going to do one podcast, and it's usually live on YouTube. So be sure to check that out and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get the notifications and hang out in the chat with us. So that's how we usually spend our end of the years, with a single podcast in December, and it's live on YouTube. So.
And don't forget to sign up for the 3rd annual Secret Santa for the Attack Action podcast. You'll be getting each other's names the first week of December, and you need to have your stuff post-mailed by December 16th.
December 16th, so it gets there by December 37th. Sure. Okay, we're out of here, everybody. Goodbye.
Keep it real.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Attack Action Podcast. On Twitter, we are at BattleBro Taylor and at BattleBro Isaac. Shoot us an email, theattackactionpodcast@gmail.com.
If you would like to support us, like and subscribe, shop for singles using our affiliate link, or support our Patreon for as little as $4 per month.